Hello, welcome to my channel. I am Amber and this is Amber's Books and More, and today I have a recommendation video for sci-fi for beginners. So let's just jump right in and get started. Okay, so basically I wanted to do a video where I give recommendations for sci-fi for people that don't necessarily love sci-fi or are just trying to start getting into sci-fi. So I have a few recommendations for you that are pretty easy to read, I think, and don't get too involved in the technical aspect of sci-fi, and they're ones that really help me get started in the genre. So let's jump in and start with our first one. So for the first one, I'm actually going to recommend the Thousandth Floor trilogy by Katharine McGee. So this is basically a story about a futuristic New York City where they have built this huge tower, and so like it houses millions of people inside this tower. It takes up like 1,000 city blocks or something like that. So it towers way above, and actually there's some pictures online that show the tower based on this is basically like the Empire State Building would be like way down here like this, and it's really cool. So the actual storyline though is very contemporary, so it's basically rich girls versus poor girls, and there's a murder mystery. So there's not a lot of the sci-fi aspects to this sci-fi, and I think that if you're someone that likes contemporary, maybe likes that like Gossip Girl, rich girls are bad kind of thing, you know, you probably would really enjoy this series, and I loved the entire series overall. So the second book slash series that I'm going to recommend is actually Sleeping Giants by Sylvain Neuvel. This is a 3-book series. So this one is more heavily sci-fi than the other series. However, this is told exclusively in like dialogue, and like there's an interviewer, so this is an interview format. If you want to read this, I recommend getting the audiobook because there are different voice actors for each character, and so it does really read like an interview and somebody's telling you what happened. So this series is basically about a girl that when she's, I think, 10 years old, she falls into a hole in the ground and lands into this like giant like metal hand that turns out to be like this giant hand from another, you know, planet. Like they don't know where it came from, it just was here. And then as they find it, they start unearthing other body parts, and they end up building this huge metal giant that they then have to figure out how that can they move it, you know, things like that. And so it flashes forward to when this girl is now an adult. She's a scientist, and she's been hired to try to help figure out how to work and where these things came from. And so it's such a good series. I think that the first book is the best book of the series, and definitely read it on audiobook, but it's an easy sci-fi to pick up that is a little more heavily into the sci-fi aspect, but won't make you feel confused. It's fast-paced, it's short, and it's told in interview, so it's very quick to get through. Alright, so the next recommendation is for the people that are basically the ones that love fantasy, and they love like political intrigue in their fantasy, and like castles and kings and queens and that kind of thing. So Mirage by Somaya Daud is basically that book, that political intrigue, royal intrigue fantasy book in a sci-fi setting. So this all takes place in the future, and it takes place on spaceships and different planets. So if you love fantasy and are scared of sci-fi, I definitely recommend picking up this one. This is the OwlCrate exclusive. The other one is, the regular one is purple. But this is very good for beginners to sci-fi because it reads much more like a fantasy than a sci-fi. So the next book recommendation is for those people that basically like superheroes, and they like more YA novels rather than adult novels. That's going to be the Renegades trilogy by Marissa Meyer. So only 2 books are out. The third one has not yet come out. But this is about a futuristic city where there are supervillains and superheroes, and there's like a superhero school, kind of, but it doesn't show the school, but we know that exists. But this is a story of a girl that is a supervillain and a boy that is a superhero, and she infiltrates the superhero's lair to try to get more information, find out what's going on. And so they are enemies in character, but then their human selves in this, you know, organization together are starting to kind of have feelings for each other, but they don't know about the other one's alter ego. It's really good. I think that if you like YA and if you're somebody that likes Marvel movies and, you know, things like that, I think that you would really enjoy this series. So I have 2 more recommendations for you. The first one is going to be one that is a little bit more heavily sci-fi than the rest, but still really easy to read, and that's going to be Lifelike by Jay Kristoff. I just finished this one yesterday, so I'm glad I'm filming this now because this one definitely deserves to be in the sci-fi for beginners, because it is a very fast-paced, easy-to-read book because it features androids and it features robots and different types of robots. So there's robots that a human has to control. There's robots that look like robots but have their own thought process and they have to follow certain rules. And then there's these what they call lifelike androids, which look almost exactly like humans, only a little bit better than humans, and they have their own mind and their own wants and needs and everything. This is a story about how a girl finds a lifelike and things spiral out of control there, but it never once will make you feel stupid because you don't understand sci-fi, and it for sure is easy to read and fast-paced, and I got through this thing in 2 days. And you know, it's not a small book, it's 400 pages, so it's not a tiny book, and I got through it in 2 days because it is just so good. I listened to this on audiobook and I recommend the audiobook, but I think that you could get the same out of this either way, but this is definitely really good, and I cannot wait for the next. This is going to be a trilogy, and I can't wait for the next one to come out in March or May, one of those M months, I can't remember, but this is just, trust me, it's good. So my last recommendation is actually the most heavily sci-fi, and there are parts in it that are a little bit harder to understand, but I think that if you read some of these first, I think that you'll be okay. I don't think that it goes out of its way to try to make you feel stupid. I think that there's just some aspects of it that are a little bit more scientific, which I didn't fully understand, but it didn't stop me from enjoying the book either way, because their characters make this book so good. And that's going to be The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers. So this is basically like a standalone, though there are some companion books about, like, you'll meet one character in here that the second book is about, and then you'll meet one character in there that the third book is about. But this is a story about basically these, I don't even remember how many it was like 7 or 8 people. Anyways, it's about this ship that has a few people on it. There's like 6 or 7 or something, I'm not sure. But they're from all different species, all different planets, and there's like, it's just, I've never felt so strongly about characters that I absolutely could not relate to, because they're like reptilian, because they come from a planet where everybody's reptilian. And there's like love story between, like, you know, different species. There's this one character that basically begins its life as a male and then eventually will transform into female, or vice versa. And so they refer to it as Z instead of he or her, because it's just, it's kind of non-binary, so they just say Z, Z-E, you know, Z. And I just thought that was a really cool take on a non-gender specific form of, you know, he or her. But so this crew is, the characters make you fall in love, and I think that this still falls under the beginner guide, even though it is the most heavily sci-fi book that I've talked about. But I really highly recommend this one. Please read it, it's just great. So that's all the recommendations I have today. If you would like more videos like this, maybe recommendations for other genres, or if you want me to get deeper into sci-fi and ones that I feel maybe a little bit more, you know, intermediate sci-fi to read, definitely let me know and I will be happy to do that. So if you like this video, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. That helps me a lot, and subscribe. And yeah, so until next time, have a great day wherever you are, and I love you. Bye.